on telephone after the made.
Right.
And it's gonna be like, matter of fact, they sent me the girl pictures, like pictures of this girl, like not the that y'all saw. Worse, way worse.
Wow.
Oh, you kidding me, yo?
Like penetration pictures and
Nah, come on.
When he do it, he says things, he doesn't even know what he's saying is like fruity.
On telephone after the right, and be like matter of fact, they send me the girl pictures like pictures of his girl. Like, not the why. Saw worse, way worse. Wow, are you kidding me? You like penetration pictures. And nah, come on when they do. When he do weird, he says things he doesn't even know. What he's saying is like Fruity, CH, not 50 Cent, coming out to expose Diddy, trying to force him into a freak off with Cassie 50 Cent, is back to exposing Diddy. And this time he's coming for Diddy, and he is Ning for him by the throat 50i, brought some strong evidence to show how Diddy tried to force him into having a freak off with him. And Cassie, and get this, F50, is not the only one spilling the tea, and he is also coming out with an entire documentary about it. And child, it looks like Diddy is on his way. Damn, Cassie wasn't the only one who wanted, or she didn't want it, but Cassie, who searched for the big black, and she was searching for the big black, not only for herself, but for somebody else who what? All know that was in the room with her, okay, so it looks like things are steadily getting worse and worse for Diddy by the day, and he's probably wishing that he managed to pay Cassie off before she filed her lawsuit because, girl, that lawsuit has damaged what's left of Diddy's reputation. I mean, his rep was already kind of bad before this, and it was hanging on by a thread. But the lawsuit broke that thread, and Diddy has been on a free fall ever since it's clear as day that Cassie played her cards right. And in this situation because, according to her lawyer, Diddy tried to settle the lawsuit before Cassie even filed. But she refused to settle. Her lawyer said Mr. Combs offered Miss Ventura 8 figures to silence her and prevent the filing of this lawsuit. She rejected his efforts and decided to give a voice to all women who suffer in silence. Miss Ventura should be applauded for her bravery. I think I speak for everyone when I say that her lawsuit has to be one of the craziest and most explosive ebb dramas that we've heard in a very long time, and it's all thanks to Cassie. I mean, by making the lawsuit public, she not only exposed Diddy and showed us the type of person that he is, but she also managed to negotiate a higher payday out of Diddy because he was so desperate to settle out of court, and she had all the bargaining chips. Some estimates even put her payday as being $100 million, which tells us how desperate Diddy was. Now, most people in the industry have been silent over this, which isn't surprising because nobody wants to be associated with Diddy in this scandal. Y'all know how them folks in Hollywood are. However, there is one person who has been talking about this situation and calling Diddy out for his bad behavior, and that is 50 Cent. Girl, should it even surprise you that 50 Cent is calling Diddy out? 50 has been determined to keep his foot on Diddy's neck for a very long time, and he is constantly speaking on Diddy. Why has been telling us for years now about how Diddy is not the nice guy that he pretends to be on social media, but we just thought that he was just being a troll as usual. F50 is known for being one of the biggest celeb trolls in Hollywood, and I guess this is why people didn't really take him all that seriously at the time. Well, with Cassie's lawsuit and the other lawsuits that have come after that, why Son is now coming out again and talking about how Diddy is even worse than we thought. If y'all thought that Cassie's lawsuit was bad, well, it turns out that she left out a lot of details in the lawsuit because 50 Cent is now claiming that Diddy actually tried to force him into a freak-off session. But before we get into the details of Diddy trying to get him to do a freak-off, can we talk about the fact that 50 Cent kind of backs Cassie up on some of the things that she said in her lawsuit? Now, I know that a couple of people were hating on Cassie and talking about how she was exaggerating on some things in her lawsuit so that she could blackmail Diddy because she knew that he wouldn't want to go to court, so she could negotiate a lot more money. A couple of people were hating and talking about how she was lying, blah, blah, blah. But according to 50 Cent, she was not lying because everything she wrote about in the lawsuit did in fact happen like she said it did. When the lawsuit first became public, 50 shaded Diddy, saying brother, love brother, lover, love you out here, looking crazy as AMF. And this had people talking about how 50 probably net W more than he was letting on, especially considering how bad the lawsuit was. And girl, did Cassie have a lot to say. And the things that she talked about were really bad. The lawsuit pretty much kicked off by saying that Diddy essayed Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him often. Punched, beat, kicked, and stomped on Miss Ventura, resulting in bruises. Burst lips, black eyes, and bleeding forced Miss Ventura to engage in intimate acts with male SSWS while getting off on it and filming that. He encounters demanded that Miss Ventura to carry his firearm in her purse just to make her uncomfortable and demonstrate how dangerous he is, and introduce Miss Ventura to a lifestyle of excessive alcohol and substance abuse, and required her to procure illicit prescriptions to satisfy his own. Addiction 50 sent back fired her on this, and according to sources, he knows a Diddy allegedly used to hurt Cassie emotionally, as well as physically, and while he wasn't close enough to Diddy to physically help Cassie or even get Diddy to ease up on her, he knew what was going on with them child. Half the people in Hollywood knew what was going on, but they all turned a blind eye. The insider also claimed that 50 Cent tried to speak to Diddy a couple of times, but Diddy put him in his place and told him that he had it all under control. Cassie's lawsuit also said this when she said that these beatings were witnessed by Mr. Combs' staff and employees of Bad Boy Entertainment and Mr. Combs' related businesses, but no one dared to speak up against their frightening and ferocious boss. He would also put his hands on her over and over again and leave her with bruises, and then he would try to hide it. The court document said over the next decade, multiple times each year, Mr. Combs would violently beat Miss Ventura, leaving bruises on her body. After every instance in which he beat Miss Ventura, Mr. Combs used his money and power to orchestrate extensive efforts to hide the evidence of his abuse, including by hiding Miss Ventura in hotels for days at a time to let her bruises heal. Alia Banks backed Cassie up on this one, and she said this is true. One time Diddy beat her up so bad, he sent her on a 3-week vacation to Hawaii just so no one would see or question how her face got like that. Aaliyah is known to be one of the meanest and most controversial rappers in Hollywood, and she comes after people all the time. I mean, she literally mocked Miss Jackie O's passing, so if she's sighing against Diddy and back and Cat sigh, then you'll better know that whatever Diddy did was foul AF. Cassie then went on to say that she tried to leave Diddy on multiple occasions, but he didn't let her go so easily, and he would sick people on her and bring her back to him. The court document said Miss Ventura left her home in Compton, then went to hide away at a friend's home in Florida. James Cruz, president of Bad Boy Management, tracked Miss Ventura down and told her that her single would not be released if she did not answer Mr. Combs' pap. One calls a woman who worked at Sony Music, reached out to her with a similar ultimatum concerning her record. Incredibly, Mr. Combs even convinced one of his attorneys to call Miss Ventura. At this time, this lawyer told Miss Ventura that it's in your best interest to call Mr. Combs back each time Miss Ventura tried to run away. Mr. Combs and his powerful network would force her back to him. He also isolated her from her friends, and he even put paws on one of her friends. And if you're wondering why Cassie didn't go to the police, it's because she knew that they wouldn't be much help. The document said Miss Ventura began to fully realize that Mr. Combs' tremendously loyal network not only knew about and witnessed his assault, but also that these witnesses were not willing to do anything meaningful to stop Mr. Combs' behavior. She recognized that she was powerless and that reporting Mr. Combs to authorities would not alter Mr. Combs' status or influence, but would merely give Mr. Combs another excuse to talk. Hurt her. That's not all, because she also claimed that he tried to unalive Sweet for no reason at all. She said, for example, on one occasion when Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura were using drugs together in his home, one of his security barged in and announced that Suge Knight, a longtime rival of Mr. Combs, was spotted at Mel's Drive-In Diner in Los Angeles. Mr. Combs began to get dressed, retrieved multiple guns from a safe, and ran out of his home to where he believed Mr. Knight was dining. Shout, not him, tried in to take Sue out over some music rivalry. She also talked about multiple times that he put his hands on her, saying in one such instance, after a party with Jay-Z, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura repeatedly in an escalade, including by kicking and hitting her. He forced her out of the vehicle on 5th Avenue in New York City. She was eventually able to hail a cab and get to her apartment in Manhattan, where she cried in fear, realizing there was no one she could tell about what had happened at the hands of this incredibly powerful man. The documents also said that in January 2009, after Mr. Coles learned that Miss Ventura spoke to another music manager at a party in Los Angeles, he became enraged. She had hoped speaking to his manager would allow her to further grow her career and that Mr. Combs would be happy for her, but instead he became extremely angry and pulled her out of the club where the party was taking place in the car. Leaving the club, Mr. Combs beat Miss Ventura, pushing her into a corner.